It's beside me here. It's not actually in the bedroom.
Good afternoon, everyone. Chris Berryman here, coalition builder and founder of Bringing Humanity Together. You know what time it is yet again? It is Terrific Tuesday. And you know what happens on Terrific Tuesday? It is Share and Care with Sandy. Today is that day. Welcome, everyone, to our Bringing Humanity Together live stream. This is one of the 3 open forums under the Bringing Humanity Together umbrella where people can discuss topics related to the workplace and humanity in the workplace in a very positive and constructive way. We want to know what the issues that are out there that are facing people today because it is our goal, our mission, our purpose, our passion, and I dare say our calling to both working employers and employees to bring humanity back into the workforce. And as always, we'll be going live every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, all at 3 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time. Feel free to invite your friends, workers, people sometimes you even meet at a Starbucks. We will love them too. And of course, as usual, our lazy co-workers will look at it and say, it's live stream day. Sharon, Karen, Sandy is on. Turn them on. Time to go. You know, it's that time. You gotta love those fur babies, you know. So as always, please feel free to invite them all. And if you even watch this on the replay, use the hashtag replay and let us know where you're watching from. If you have any questions, concerns, comments, show topics, please put them all in the social media platforms that we're on. We're on Facebook Live right now on our our Facebook business page. We are on LinkedIn Live on my personal page. And then also we are live on our YouTube channel. So in the comment section of each one, please let us know where you're watching from. We'd love to have that great engaging conversation with you. And our team would love to have that with you and everything like that. And just remember, it's Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. It's going to be hosted by, on Tuesday, Sharon Care with Sandy. With Sandy, I host Conversations for Humanity on Wednesday. And on Thursday, Humanity Happy Hour is hosted by none other than Carla Finnegan. So, hello, ladies.
You know, the other thing, Chris, that would be nice hearing from people, if they have any topics that they would like to hear developed and spoken about, and they can suggest those in those chats as well, because we're always looking for different things to share with people. And if somebody has some ideas of something that they'd like to learn more about or see our, listen to our discussion on it, whatever, then yeah, topics, any kind of topic.
Yes. I agree. I love that. And even if it comes from our fur babies would say, "Hey, what's the Bringing Humanity Together Dog of the Month? Which one is that? We have Cosmo, we have Apple. What more can we do? Sure, there's more out there. So bring even your little fur babies, even if the cats, or even you name it. I even had my uncle. Thinking of which, he actually had 2 flying squirrels.
What?
He had 2 flying squirrels.
What was the other one's name?
I forget their names because it's been so long ago. I was a little kid. I remember them. But he had them in a cage, and he literally could do them on command. He opened them up, and what he did, it was real unreal. He would put food on each of his shoulder and then fly to his shoulders and land on it and eat the food. I think if I remember right, he named them after one of my favorite cartoon series at the time was Rocky and Bullwinkle. There was Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Yeah.
I think that's what the names were.
Bullwinkle was a moose.
Bullwinkle, I was going to say, Rocky was the squirrel and
Bullwinkle was the moose.
Yep. Man, are we dating ourselves or what?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, we had a squirrel that got in our house several years ago, came down through the chimney, and I came walking in to the family room in the garage, and I thought it was my cat sitting on the edge. They were sitting on the fireplace hearth, like, "Hey, glad you're home," And then I'm going, "Wait a minute, that's not my cat," and it went, literally flying around the house. And we got it into the sunroom, and we closed the door, and we opened the outside doors thinking it would go out, and it didn't. We ended up, we left it that way overnight thinking that it'd be gone. And then the next morning, it had burrowed into one of our oversized chairs and had dug a hole in it. And I told my husband, I said, "Oh, I think it's gone," because I didn't, open up the door and I didn't hear anything. And he went down and he goes, "No, it's not." We ended up trapping it in a trap. One of my neighbors had a squirrel trap, and he says you have to bait it with Snicker peanut butter bars, peanut butter. And I'm like, so we got some Snicker bars, and we baited it, and he actually found the Snicker bar in there, and it closed the trap. And my husband drove it off to let him out in the woods somewhere, because they say it will take it like 3 miles from your house. Like, how in the hell does that squirrel know what 3 miles is? But anyway, he did it. I have never heard an animal so mad in a cage as that squirrel. To this day, I will not eat a Snicker bar.
Gotta have them Snickers.
Well, we've had squirrels in our cabin up at Whistler, because there's tons of squirrels up there.
Yeah.
And what we would do is we just open the balcony door and sweep the squirrel out onto the balcony, and then they'd go away. But they often would get into the house.
Yeah.
So, but that's common up at Whistler. So
we had a few that came down through the chimney and, shall I say, parked and died there. And we had to have somebody come in and take care of them.
Yeah, because it stinks after a while.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, very bad. Yeah.
We didn't know what it was.
Well, I remember one time when I had to help my sister-in-law move one time. They had a small apartment, and it was basically the kitchen is on the back side of the house, real small. They had a upstairs that goes up. I mean, it's basically on a very small 2-story house. But under the stairs where they were at, a raccoon got in.
Oy.
And next thing you know, what happens? And when we first went into that house to help her move, when you open that door, oh my God.
Yeah.
It's not pretty.
Raccoons are smart, Chris. It's very hard to deal with them, because we had friends where the raccoon got in under an eave into the attic.
Yeah.
And and then had a family in there. I mean, don't ask. It was just unbelievable. And our previous house where we lived, there were lots of raccoons in the neighborhood. They used to come and they would tap on the window. I'm not kidding you. They would tap on the window upstairs. I mean, it was hysterically funny. Let me in.
I'm here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm home.
Yeah. So, it's just a matter of, there's wildlife. And, where I live on the golf course here, there are coyotes. There are also raccoons, and, there are squirrels, of course. And so I have a table on my deck in the back, and it's got a cover on it to protect it. But sometimes, I lift up the cover and there's an animal underneath there. They've gone under there because it's dry and, whatever. So, but we have all around the complex, we have boxes that trap rats, and we also have some cages that trap raccoons.
Wow.
Raccoons are nasty. I mean, they are really a nasty animal. You have to be very careful, because they bite and they scratch, and they're not really very nice animals.
Don't they carry rabies?
They can, and especially if you have little kids, they can really hurt the kids, and they will bite little dogs and cats and stuff.
Part of that.
Yeah. So you have to be sort of on your toes. You got to be paying attention to what's going on. So fortunately, we've got a really good caretaker here who Dave does everything.
Oh, that's good.
He's really good. So he sets up the the cages and the traps and all that kind of stuff, and he usually deals with it. But it's just, you can't help it. I mean, I live on a park, and it's very, the golf course is a big park. There's always animals on the golf course. We don't have any bears here.
You have deer?
No.
No deer?
No deer. In North Van and West Vancouver, where people and where there are golf courses, and because it's on the side of a mountain, they do have bears and they have deer and but we don't here in the city. The biggest thing in the city is the coyotes.
Yeah, we have.
And in Stanley Park, they've actually had trouble with the coyotes. They've been biting people.
Wow.
Yeah. So they even have gone after little kids. So they had to put a bunch of them down. And the reason
chase the kids or what? Do the kids think that it's a dog?
Well, no, they chase the kids and bite them. And the reason they feel the reason that this is happening is because people have been feeding them. And so then, they get used to dealing with humans and looking for food. And that's what happens in some of these other communities where there are bears. If they can get into the garbage, or if you've left anything out, then the bears keep coming because they figure, oh, well, this is good. They're feeding me. Hoo-ha, whatever. So they're finding people in North and West Vancouver. If they find anybody feeding bears, they fine them. One woman was fined, are you ready for this? $35,000.
I ain't getting that.
Wow.
Well, because she was buying food for the bears, literally, Chris.
And leaving it out?
And leaving it out, Carla.
Oh, my word.
You can't do that, because it's dangerous. I mean, when we used to hike at Whistler, sometimes you come across bears. It's just, it is what it is. And what they've done in the Whistler Village is the garbage cans are all locked. Only humans can open them. And in our complex, in our townhouse complex where we have a cabin there, we've also, where the garbage is, it's in a locked little house. The bears can't get in there because otherwise you'll go into the garbage one day and there'll be a bear in there.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't do that. So it's really important that humans not feed these wild animals. They should be foraging for themselves, because after a while they just come to expect that that's what they're going to have, that these humans are going to put out stuff for me. So I'll just sit here and wait for them, So, I mean, one time Yale and I came around on a trail and there was a bear sitting right in the middle of the trail. And I go, oh, cool. Now what do we do? The last thing you want to do,
I don't think it's cool.
Run, because they'll chase you. So you have to sort of be big and make a lot of noise, and usually they go away. But it's, in Whistler in particular, there's lots of bears, lots and lots of bears. And of course, the other thing that you don't want to get in between is a mom and her cubs.
Oh, yeah.
That's another problem. So you have to sort of be aware and pay attention to things. We don't see them much during the ski season because they are not usually on the ski hills. But in the spring and the summer, when people are hiking, that's when you got to be on top of things. You've got to be alert, because otherwise you can have a problem. And there are people who have been attacked by the bear, stuff like this. It's not funny. So, you have to pay attention. But, it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, I know where I'm at, they cleared out down where I used to live, a whole area of greenery, and they put up a neighborhood. Wow. And it forced the bears into other neighborhoods. Okay. And then they go through the trash and show up in people's backyard. Yeah. It was a mess.
Yeah, it is. It's terrible.
Well, we have to say hello to one of our favorite people.
Who's on?
Hello, Graham. Hello, you're walking.
Oh, come on, Graham. Get live with us. Come on. Let's see you.
It's not about the gift card, I swear.
Maybe he'll just pop on one day. I'm going to use reverse psychology. Okay, come on, come on.
Why don't you want us to see you, Graham? Come on. Turn on your webcam and hop into the conversation.
Imagine it's recorded.
Anyway, what we're going to do today, we're going to talk about relationships. So I think that you should come in.
You need to join the relationship in the conversation.
Oh, there you go, Carla. So today's a relationship conversation. That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah. Because it is very, very important that good relationships are formed in any organization. Because if people don't like each other and they're nasty to one another, when someone comes into the business, they feel it. It's palpable in the air. It really is. When you have a poisonous environment, people can feel it. And the opposite is true. You come into a place where people get along and they have fun and it feels good in there. You want to stay.
It's a good place to go.
Yeah. So it's a matter of, what are you doing? I know nothing about the animals you're talking about. Well, that's okay. We're going to quit talking about them now, Graham. We're
not talking about animals anymore.
Yeah, we're going to talk.
We're not having a conversation with them or building a relationship.
Yeah, we're going to talk about people. We know you know about people, so
there you go.
But it's just a matter of, it's so important that organizations have that good culture where people are nice to each other and people get to know one another, and that way, when you know someone and you know what they're good at and you know what they like and all those kind of things, it's so much easier to deal with them, because then you know what to do and they know what to do with you, and so on and so forth, and then the team functions better. Because again, like Chris says, I help you, you help me, we help we. I mean, if we can get along and help one another and do the things that are going to make our team successful, then it's a win for everybody, because then you will end up with a high performance team that can accomplish anything. Because when we know the skill set that each person has, what they bring to the table. So if it's something that I can't do, I'll just, Carla, can you take care of this? I know that it's something you're really good at. You're not going to say no. You'll say, sure, I can do that. No problem. And it's just like I said, sometimes, in a store, the floor needs to be swept. Well, probably there's a caretaker who is supposed to, but in the middle of the day, if the floor needs to be swept and everybody else is busy, if the team leader sweeps the floor, so what? All it does is it shows that we're helping each other when something needs to be done. And the team leader saw that everybody else was busy, so he or she picked up the broom and took care of it. Well, that's, walking the walk.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's not that it's something beneath you, it's something that needs to be done. So if you don't have something to do right this minute, so what's wrong with you sweeping the floor? Especially if there's something there that could cause an accident or something.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of, what the heck are we doing? And, I told you that in the dental office, when my dad was the dentist, we had fun in the office. I mean, I know that sounds a little strange for a dental office, but we all liked each other. And so the atmosphere in the office was pleasant, and it was pleasant for the patients. And, when we were looking for new staff, if they came in and they looked grumpy and, whatever, we'd say, no, this is not a person for us. They're not going to work out in this office. So no. And I remember one person came in and at the end of the interview, they said, why is everybody laughing in here? Like they couldn't understand it. And so I was like, I kind of winked at the receptionist who was doing the interview, and I go, I don't think so.
Had her negativity meter up.
Well, I mean, the thing was that we all trusted each other and we all supported one another. And I told you that, we did a lot of cross training, because sometimes you need an extra hand.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like until we had digital x-rays, you had to develop them.
Mm-hmm.
They had to go, first of all, into the developer, then they had to go into the fixer, then they had to be rinsed and dried and, all those kind of things. And for some of us who were cleaning teeth or doing dentistry, we didn't have time for that. So if somebody in the office could do it, or one of the assistants could take care of it, we were very appreciative.
Yeah.
And, I also told you, sometimes I had to do some special charting, and I could do it myself, but it's a lot easier to just call the numbers out to somebody else. And so, it's just a matter of, what are you doing? Or sometimes supplies needed to be ordered, or they needed some help in the office doing calls or pulling charts or, whatever. It doesn't matter. But it was a matter of looking around, especially if, for example, I had a cancellation. Okay, now I have an hour with nothing to do. So walk around and see if somebody needs a hand.
Yeah.
Like, what's wrong with that? And when you behave in that way, when everybody behaves in that way, and everybody did, we were all there to help each other. That was just the whole atmosphere in the office. And because we all got along, and we did a lot of laughing in the office. So even the patients got to laugh, they couldn't imagine they're lying in a dental chair laughing. But anyway, it's just a matter of what kind of atmosphere are you creating? And it's the same in retail or in a clinic, or I don't care what kind of business you have. If you don't get along with your team and your team doesn't get along with each other, it's not going to be good for your patients or your customers or your clients, because they're not going to be comfortable in your business. So it's a matter of, what are you doing? And I mean, I don't have staff, but I always, want to listen very carefully to a new prospect, because I want to hear what they're really looking for so that I can provide it for them. And so we always have, whether it's on the phone or it's in person, we always have a really good discussion. And then I follow it up with documentation. And then, when they come back to me, I say, well, I think we should have another conversation just to make sure that we're on the same page and that I'm going to be able to provide you with what you're looking for.
And you're building a relationship with them.
Exactly.
Exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah.
You have to build relationships with people.
Well, you do. Otherwise, you're not going to have them. Because
you might have several conversations with them before you even get a potential contract.
Well, and like I said, Chris, if you come into the office and the receptionist, hi, Chris, it's so nice to see you. How are you?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
Exactly. But if every time you come into the office, there's a new person sitting at the front desk, and obviously they don't know you, it's not comfortable. And it means something not good is going on in the office, because staff shouldn't be turning over every 6 months, or every 3 or 4 months or whatever. But that, really horrible guy that I worked for, that's what was going on. And it made patients exceedingly uncomfortable, because they were used to, having somebody at the front desk that they'd seen there for years. And of course, the person at the front desk knew them and, everything else. So it was comfortable for everybody. But when you start turning over staff, every couple of months or whatever, just not good. So it's really important that the staff get along. And if the staff gets along, I always say you don't need to worry about customer service, because if people like where they work and they're proud of where they work, then they're going to want the customers and the clients to stay. So they're going to be nice to them, and they're going to listen to them, and they're going to provide them with what they're looking for. And even if something goes wrong, like I've said before, customer service works like this. If something goes wrong, the first question you should ask the person is, what will make them happy? And although you might not be able to do everything that will make them happy, but at least if you can do 1 or 2 of the things that they're asking for, like I told you about what happened with the carpets in Whistler Place. And I mean, I just told the guy, here's what will make us happy. We're not going to give you any more money.
Yeah. Well, this is actually from Graham. This is what he just asked. Do the panelists think it is possible to excel as a team in the workplace, and if they don't have a connection after than work?
Other than work?
I think it's possible. It just depends. What we used to do, again, this was my dad, is number one, at least once a year, he would take the entire office on a continuing education course that was out of town, and he would pay for everything. Plus, at least once a year, we would go and play baseball or, something like that, and then go out for dinner afterwards. And again, he'd pick up the tab. One year we went whitewater rafting up at Whistler. And, so we did different things as an office, so that we did fun things together. And that also sort of, it honed the relationships to a certain degree, because not only were we working together, but we would have some kind of social things at least 2 or 3 times a year that we would do something together. And I think that there's nothing wrong with that, especially when the boss picks up the tab.
Yeah.
So, it's just a matter of what are we doing? And you see, the boss could write it off, so it didn't matter.
Right.
They can write off stuff like
Well,
that.
you're not going to believe what I just found while you guys were talking and had this great and engaging conversation with Graham, because Graham needs to be on the conversation anyways, because he just asked a great question that if it's possible to excel in the team in the workplace if they don't have that connection after work. Graham, you can do that. You can create that. Again, I will go back to what I truly believe, that you can create better environments to create better results. But this is what I found from our good friend, and I will love to meet the man soon, John C. Maxwell, yet again. And it's about relationships. It's lesson 6, beyond success. and this is on one of the YouTube channels that I found out, and it's, I guess, from his other business called Equip. But this is what he says when it comes, and it's going to be like 8 minutes long. But I think it's really well worth it to listen to this.
Okay.
But it's really great for what we can do from a relationship aspect. So here's John C. Maxwell on lesson 6, Beyond Success Relationships.
Today I want to talk about relationships. When I was in the 7th grade, I read a book called How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie.
My dad made me
My
read that book.
father, when each one of the children, I was the middle child, got to the 7th grade, he literally paid us an allowance to read books that he put in our hands because he felt that reading good books could change your life. And that was one of those books. That did change my life. In fact, I read that book every year through high school and took 2 Dale Carnegie relationship classes while I was in high school. What I knew as a very young man that I'm sharing with you now as a very old man is this. The quality of your relationships will determine the quality of your life. I wrote a book called 25 Ways to Win with People, which was really a book that was kind of my Dale Carnegie book, helping people to win with relationships. And in that book, on 25 Ways to Win with People, there are 5 people practices that I want to give you that will help you in getting better relationally with other people. Number 1, practice the 30-second rule. This is a simple thing that you can do, and you can start doing it immediately. The 30-second rule means that within the first 30 seconds that you see somebody or meet them, say something positive about their life. Compliment them. Something that is nice. In the first 30 seconds, be intentional to start your conversation off in a positive way with another person. The second thing that I would encourage you to do, it's a great practice, is to listen with your heart. Now, I know we have ears to listen, but listening with your heart is wanting to listen. It focuses on us really wanting to understand the person that we're hearing from. Now, this is a practice that I had to learn because I was not a naturally good listener. In fact, I had one of my staff members one day come up to me and have an honest moment with me and say, John, you don't listen to us. And for a moment, that was hard for me to receive, and I kind of pushed back and was defensive. But the longer that I thought about it, the more I realized that she was exactly right. I didn't listen well. So for the next couple of years on my legal pad, I'd put a big L over in the right-hand top corner of that legal pad. That big L just stood for listen. And I would get into meetings, and I would be tempted to talk more than I should. And I'd see the big L on the legal pad, and I'd just say, shut up, John. Listen. Listen with your heart. Listen to understand. Listen to care. The third thing that I would encourage you to practice in relationships is to remember a person's story. I've discovered that everyone has a story, and I love to hear what their story is. I love to ask them about their story. I can remember Margaret and I many years ago going into an Italian restaurant down in the area where we live in Florida called Evo's. And as we were ordering food, I asked for a Coke Zero, and the waitress said they didn't have Coke Zero there. They had Diet Cokes. I said, okay, and I took the Diet Coke. We came in about maybe a month later, and I sat down, and I started ordering my food, and the waitress came up to me, and she had a Coke Zero. And she began to pour it in a glass of ice. And I looked at her and said, oh, my goodness, you got Coke Zero. She said, sure, Mr. Maxwell. She said, when you were here last, you said that was your favorite drink. And so we have it now in stock for you. We remembered that's what you liked. And so therefore, we wanted to serve you well. You see, she remembered my story. And one of the best ways to value people is just to remember their stories. It will make them feel special. Number 4, create a memory and visit it often. I love to create memories. In fact, I try to do it on a daily basis. And with my children as they grew up, and now with my grandchildren, I was always asking them 2 questions. Every experience that we had, big experience, small experience, it didn't matter. I would ask them these 2 questions. What did you love and what did you learn? I've been asking those questions now for 40 years. And trust me, every experience that you have, you need to evaluate and pull out of that experience something that will help you grow and learn. Asking a person what they love, what they learn, will help them to kind of evaluate those experiences and create those memories with those families and other people around you that they just will never forget. And finally, help people win. This works with family, this works with friends and business associates. Help people to learn how to win. What I've discovered is that most people go through experiences of life and they don't get a lot of wins. And if you have the ability to make things happen for yourself, then help make things happen for others. In fact, one of the great transitions I had in my life relationally was when I quit trying to make things happen always for me, and I began to set things up that would happen for others so that they could experience the wins, so they could experience the joys. Here's what I know. As you look back on your life, the relationships that you have on your life will give you your greatest memories, and they'll also give you your most difficult, saddest moments. But if you're intentional in building into people's lives and adding value to people on a daily basis, I can promise you, you'll have a lot of good memories with a lot of good people that will give you a foundation of relational success. Because leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. Where do you gain influence with people? By connecting with them and relating to them. Remember this, people won't go along with you unless they can get along with you. So be a person that they can get along with. And then you can go together on that journey. Now, today's roundtable is going to be a little different than all the previous ones. You're going to do this regular roundtable on relationships now. But after you're done, your leader is going to invite you to watch.
That was good, Chris.
Yeah, it's good.
Now, and it's amazing.
Well, the truth is that he's absolutely right. Because if you don't have a good life, then, because you haven't got good relationships in your life, then what have you got? I mean, seriously. And it doesn't mean you can get along with everyone, but you certainly should be able to get along with most people. Again, especially if you listen, figure out what they're looking for, what they want, or what they need, or, whatever. I mean, I've been married for almost 49 years. In December, we will have our 49th anniversary. And Gail and I get along very well because we trust each other, we respect one another, and we have fun. I mean, we really do. He's a very funny guy. But Yale he's only funny around people that he's comfortable with, because otherwise he's shy and quiet. But it's just, we've worked, I can sometimes finish his sentences. I know what he's going to say. But it's just, because we've been together for so long, Chris, it just,
I know.
it is what it is. But one of the things that I learned during this pandemic is there are a lot of people who are divorcing and separating because they didn't, they couldn't spend all this time together. They got on each other's nerves, and, Yale and I we had so much fun. We just, we did all kinds of things because we have a lot in common. There are a lot of things that we both like to do. We both like art. We both like music. We both like plays and movies, and, and we like unusual food, like we like Thai food and Chinese food and Japanese food and, whatever.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of, what are you doing with your relationships? And we've also set up good relationships with our kids. And I'm very close to my first cousins. It's something that, our family always got together for all the Jewish holidays. And so we always spent a lot of time together. And unfortunately, one of them has died recently. And another one died not too long ago either. Sad. But anyway, but the rest of us, we still get together. even though we don't necessarily do it on the Jewish holidays anymore, but we still get together to see what's going on and what's happening with their kids or their grandkids or, whatever, just to sort of, we usually either go for a walk or we go out for a meal. And it's just, it's fun. It's just something that we've done since we were kids. And I think that it's my aunt, who now doesn't know anything anymore, but when we were starting to do this, which was about 20 years ago, she thought it was wonderful. I mean, she just absolutely thought it was fantastic that we were making this effort to get together on a regular basis. And, again, what are you doing? And we enjoy each other. I mean, we really do. And we work very hard at, forming these relationships and keeping them good. And, I think I've told you my sister-in-law lives in this same complex. Sylvia does not have a mean cell in her body. I'm not kidding you. My sister-in-law is the nicest person you could ever want. And, there isn't anything I wouldn't do for her. I'm serious. Nothing.
Yeah.
And, it just depends on what you're doing. And I told you that one of the things that was very important to me when I was practicing was to establish trust, respect, and rapport with my patients. Because if you don't have that, they won't listen to you. They won't do anything that you suggest. So it's very important to set up a relationship. And, they always, believe it or not, looked forward to coming in and having their teeth cleaned. I know that may sound very strange, but they did. And when I left there, I got phone calls at home. Where are you? I came in to get my teeth cleaned and you weren't there. I'm serious, Chris. I got phone calls.
I know you did. You told it many times.
So, it's a matter of what are you doing? And, I told you I went into healthcare, and I'm sure Carla had the same reasoning, to help people. And now I'm just helping people in a different way with soft skills, because as you know, soft skills are not included in any programs, which is ridiculous. But anyway, because it's so important to have effective communication skills, have strategies to deal with stress management, to be a good time manager, to work well as a team, with other people, depending on what your job is. I mean, if you can't do these things, some people are good at it naturally. Some people are. But they're I'm just going to say, Carla, but they're few and far between.
Yeah.
So, but
everybody needs it.
Well, I think if people realize that they would have a better life if their relationships were better, then they can learn these things, and they can. Anybody can learn anything if they decide they want to learn it. But you can't make people learn things if they don't decide they need it. Yeah. So it's a matter of them figuring out that, I'm having a lot of miscommunication here. I got to figure out how to talk better, or, whatever. And it's a matter of getting the help that you need. And, it's just a matter of what are you doing? And I think that it's very important for people in organizations to be able to communicate effectively and to get along with one another and help each other. I mean, yes, you have a specific job to do, but if you're done and somebody else is struggling and you can help them, so do it.
Exactly.
Why is that so hard?
Exactly. But here's another
phrase. It's not my job.
Yeah.
Oh, that sends me up a wall.
I hate that, Carla.
Yeah.
That's the worst thing you can say to anybody. The worst thing you can say to anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not my job. So what?
Yeah.
Who cares if it's not your job?
Do it.
Help?
Yeah.
If you can help, it shouldn't matter that it's not your job.
Right.
So, it's just a matter of what are we doing? And if we're not working together and helping each other and being nice to each other, then we're going to be in a very poisonous atmosphere, which is not a good place to work. It's not
your home life too,
Well, that's right, Carla.
You just, in my opinion, you don't end a marriage just because you're tired of it or whatever, or it's not fun anymore. You have to, obviously you missed the part till death do us part,
Yep.
And you didn't take it seriously, and I don't know, these people go, oh, it's a lot of work. And I'm like, No, I have a lot of fun. I mean, my husband's a lot like your husband. We finish each other's sentences, and we've only been married 16 years coming next month, but we think so much alike. I'll be thinking about something and he'll bring it up, and I'll like, did you get out of my head? Literally, I look at him like I was just thinking that,
Well, and what used to happen with our kids is Yale and I were always on the same page, because one day Mark came home and he kind of looked at me and he said, I guess you wouldn't be very happy if I got a C. I said, no, because you're capable of A's, you should get A's. He said, well, what about PE? I said, but you're a good athlete, so it shouldn't even be in PE. And our daughter has a learning disability, so he started to bring her up. I said, I'm sorry, you can't bring your sister up because it's not comparable. It's just really not. So I expect you to do well in school because you can. And so when his dad came home, and Yale and I never had a chance to talk, he did the same thing with Yale, and he got exactly the same answer from him that he got from me. So it's just a matter of, as a parent, you do have to be consistent. And Yale and I often talked about, some of those things. But I mean, the expectation for Mark, because he was very smart, was, you need to get good grades because you're capable of getting good grades. And Elisa had to work her ass off because she has a learning disability. But she always did well because she wanted to, so it's just a matter of what's driving your kids. And I think that, Mark and Kim are doing a good job with their boys for the same reason, because they have set boundaries. I mean, I've seen people's kids who are so out of control because they've never set boundaries. I'm sorry. Children need to understand that there are boundaries, and there are certain things that you can't do and certain lines that you can't cross. And it just is what it is. And a lot of it has to do with safety, in terms of, we don't want them to get hurt. We don't want them to, whatever. But you have to set those parameters. You've got to set those things, and kids need to know. I mean, Mark always pushed the envelope. He would do things he wasn't supposed to just to see what I would do. So initially, he'd come and he'd pull down his pants. You want to spank me? I go, no. Here's what's going to happen. Your grandmother wanted to take you out for dinner. You're not going to get to go. I'm not. I said, no. Because you went ahead and did something you're not supposed to do. Your sister's going to get to go, but you're not going. Oh, and I said, well, I'm sorry. See, with my daughter, all I had to do was threaten to smack her. That was it.
Oh, I know.
I didn't do anything. But Mark didn't care about that because he's tough. But after we started, instituting some of these other consequences that mattered to him, he backed off. But I told you, he phoned me one day because his older son turned into him. And of course, I laughed hysterically. And I said, poor Kim, she doesn't deserve it. You're getting exactly what you deserve. So he said on the phone, well, what do we do? I said, you and Kim need to sit down and figure out what consequences matter to Jack. And then you've got to be consistent. And when he does something he knows darn well he's not supposed to do, then you have to exercise the consequence that matters to him. Because after that happens a few more times, he'll back off. But it's a matter of, you guys have to be consistent, because you know him, he's very smart. And if one of you is soft, he'll walk all over you.
Right.
It's just a matter of, what are you doing? And again, I think I told you that one of the times I came, I told them to go out for dinner, go to a movie. I don't care. I'll take care of Jack. So he comes up to me and he looks at me and he goes, Mommy and Daddy let me do. I don't even remember what it was, but I knew darn well there was no way they let him do that. And I said, I'm sorry, Jack, I'm not letting you do that. Well, Mommy and Daddy let me. I said, well, I don't care. Mommy and Daddy aren't here. Well, you're not the boss of me. And I said, well, actually, when Mommy and Daddy aren't here and I'm babysitting, I am the boss of you, and I'm not letting you do that. So he looks at me and he goes, oh. I said, Jack, I raised your dad. I know how this works. Don't do this again. So he laughed hysterically. He laughed hysterically, thought that was really funny. But you see, he figured I wouldn't know. So when his dad came home, I said, you can't blame him for trying. He's a smart kid. He figured I wouldn't know and I'd let him do whatever.
Yeah.
He tried the same thing on my daughter. But of course, Elisa remembered what Mark was like when he was a kid. And so he didn't get away with it with her either.
Right. So let's go to the Graham-isms and Brian-isms, because they have been commenting today.
Well,
this comes from Brian. He says, Absolutely. Chemistry and organizations are largely overrated. There are numerous examples in sports and otherwise where success is attained even though players dislike each other. What's your ladies' thoughts on that?
Um,
I need Brian on here to talk about, I think it was the Ryder Cup, where there were two people that couldn't stand each other on the golf course.
Oh, that's true. That is true. I remember that. And this comes from Graham. He says, "I believe how people help other people is vital. I think it's important to support and challenge rather than just do things for those underperforming." And then he comes back. Graham asks this: "What are your thoughts on managing performance?" What's your thoughts on that, ladies?
well, I think that if you can give people incentives, Chris, so that they can rise, and if they need help, then give them, some extra skill training or some, whatever to help them to be the best they can be, and explain it in that way. I know you can do better. You know you can do better. So what kind of help would you like so that we can get you to a higher level? Because I know you can. So, that's not a negative approach. That's an approach that, hopefully they would appreciate, and give them some training, pay for it, let the company pay for some extra training for these people so that they can achieve better. And that shows that you value the person. You're making an investment in them. Brooks, oh, they dislike each other. Okay. But for weeks they play together. Winning is more important. They're friendly now, not best friends, but friendly. Yeah, I actually know that. We watch a lot of golf too.
Yeah, that was Ryan. He actually put the right.
Oh, okay.
So that was from the Ryder Cup. Well, for me, and I will go back to what Brian originally says when he says, "I believe people help each other." Oh no, that was Graham. That he says chemistry and organizations are largely overrated. Now, I don't believe in that.
I don't know.
The reason being is if you meet people where they are and you find out what makes them tick, it will create that better environment.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, there's those numerous examples, like you were just saying about the Ryder Cup, that there are people who actually don't like each other but know their role in the organization structure or team structure or whatever that might be. But I believe if you do create that environment for everyone to be involved in and be a part of, they have to make that choice. Do I want to be a part of that? Or do I just want to work upon the environment that's been shown around me and still work within that confines of that very environment? And as I say to people a lot, we can still build upon the things that are in alignment to one another. And I even dare say that we can still build on the things that are maybe not in alignment with one another, or even more importantly, recognize those very things that are kind of putting us apart to a certain degree, and we don't see eye to eye on some things. Maybe we come to an agreement and say, "Hey, I agree to disagree," whatever that might be, and just still meet them halfway. And it's about respecting people. If you respect people and give them that grace and say, "I respect you, Carla. I respect you, Sandy. And even though I may not see eye to eye on a lot of things with you, I will respect not only the opportunity to not only learn from you, but also understand where you're coming from in that model of the world that you work under. And if you see that very same thing in return with me, you can even see, I was listening to the John C. Maxwell podcast again today. They were talking yet again about attitude. Attitude in relationships is really key too as well. Is how do we show up to people? Is our attitude really great? Do we choose to have that great attitude? Or do we let others, it's like the elevator. Do we rise people up or do we get people to be dragged down?
Chris, in sports, what can happen, and it certainly was with Koepka and what's his face, is that they both appreciated how good each was at their game.
Mm-hmm.
And so it doesn't matter if they don't love each other, because they know that the other person can perform And so they know that when they work together as a team, they're going to win because they both are very good golfers. So I think it's the same thing, with other sports things. You may not love everybody on your team, but if you know that they're very good at what they do, then you're going to work with them. So it just depends. But I think in business, it's different because if somebody knows that you don't like them and you're not very nice to them and stuff like that, it's going to create an uncomfortable feeling, which you don't want. And I think in sports, that doesn't necessarily happen because people appreciate the skills that their teammates have. And so they can work together as a team, even if they don't really.
So why can't you take that into the workplace and appreciate the skills that somebody else has, and not necessarily, you don't have to love them and have them over for Thanksgiving, but you can certainly be kind and respectful to them.
Yep.
And not, sneer at them every time you go by them or anything like that. So if we can easily do it in sports, and I wonder how much on the sports angle, a lot of that was kind of, the drama was kind of built up by the fans or other people to make it worse than it really was when they may not be buddy sharing a beer after a round, but they still respected one another and the gifts that each person brought into the match, the betterment of the team. So why can we not do that on this level?
Well, I think some people probably can, Carla, but I think that it's harder. Yeah. And I think that, a lot of people are just, again, they're not good at this. They're just really not good at it. They don't listen well. They don't communicate effectively. And that causes a lot of different kinds of issues. And it's sad to watch.
So you think working on communication and soft skills would help that?
Yep, I do. Because if they can communicate more effectively and appreciate each other from a different perspective, then there's a better chance that they might decide in the end that maybe that person isn't so bad.
Well, I think a lot of it comes from your own personal development too, and leaving your ego at the door.
Yeah.
And accepting people for what they have and what gifts they have to give to an organization. And it wasn't up to you to hire them. And they may have specific skills that they bring into it. I don't think that there's room for pettiness or bashing anybody at work, sabotaging them, or anything like that.
Well, and blaming them
for to get along for the betterment of the team.
Right. And see, ladies, I truly believe in this too as well. If you meet people where they are, and you meet with where they're coming from, and it's like what you just said, or recognize the gifts that they are bringing to the table and to the organization. What are they really wanting to do, and why do they do? And maybe number one, if we don't get in our own way, that might be a thing that we can do and understand that, how do I not put myself in that position that I don't meet eye to eye? And this is great. Emotional intelligence could be useful in the workplace. You're absolutely right.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
That and emotional maturity.
Yeah. A lot of people don't have it, Carla. That's part of the problem. And a lot of people don't have any common sense either. So,
well, that's true.
And when you don't have emotional intelligence and you don't have common sense, then you don't understand. I mean, you just don't get it. And it's difficult to deal with people like that.
Yeah. And you're not an effective team member either.
No, absolutely not. But it's just a matter of, again, you have to get along with the people that you work with. You have to appreciate what they bring to the table in terms of their skills and their abilities. And if you can do that, then it'll be a much more pleasant atmosphere, in terms of, anyway, it's just a matter of realizing that it's always nicer to be pleasant whenever possible. rather than being nasty or aggressive, or, like a lot of people, when you say be assertive, people think that, you have to stand up there and shout. I tell them, no, being assertive means knowing what you want and asking for it in an honest and respectful manner. And if you can use assertiveness in that way, you will be far more successful at getting what you want. But, yelling at people and screaming at people and pushing people to do it, my way, kind of thing, it's not helpful. It doesn't work. It's just a matter of understanding how to deal more effectively with people. And a lot of it has to do with effective communication.
And this is what Brian just said, and I will put it in the screen here in just a second. He says this: why are we constantly trying to get everyone to like us? We don't like everyone.
Well, that's
and that's for Brian.
Well, that's you don't need to like everyone, but you need to have a way of dealing with them that's pleasant. You don't need to be nasty to them just because you don't love them. And it's just a matter of getting along with people, even if you don't want them to be your best friend. Okay, you don't have to have lunch with them. You don't have to go out at night with them. But at work, you have to get along. And so you need to put some of that childish behavior aside and be an adult.
Yeah. It was like if people show up, like, you might have someone in the workplace that's always showing up late for work. And if it affects you, then you go talk to your manager about it. Right. But if it doesn't affect you, it's like, does it really make any difference to you? Does it change what you do in your day? Don't turn your nose at them. Let management deal with it. Whose problem is it? It's not your problem.
No.
And this is Brian's response about emotional intelligence to Graham. He says it can be very useful, and I agree. When we recognize not only our IQ can really work in existence with our EQ, how do we make that real? Well, like I said before, you can just meet people where they are. It's just like you don't have to be the sharpest tool in the shed to get things done.
No.
You just know what tools are in that shed, how you get them to work, not only for the benefit of you, but for the benefit of everyone else. Because if the tools that you've been given are not the sharpest and not the greatest that you have, how do you make them better? Well, the way I look at it is you take what you have, and if you have to, and this is a phrase I use very so often, if you have to cannibalize something to make it something bigger and something different, then do it. Mm-hmm. Work with what you got. You don't actually have to go out and say, oh, I need the newest so-and-so this or this. No, you don't have to go do that, because when it comes to the value factor, that you're spending that value from a monetary standard that might not be the thing that you really want to go do. To me, it goes right back to, like I said, meeting them where they are. You ask them, hey, will this work? Would that work? And if that doesn't work, you can say, hey, let's see how the best idea wins out with a better tool. Can it be this or can it be that? What does that look like to you? And the more that you go to them and ask them about the day-to-day versus you not there day-to-day, because the people who's the boots on the ground, who know what they know far better than you, and that's why there's a big disconnect from a manager versus a leader, because the manager is always about the day-to-day. Leaders are creating that environment to get people to where they want to go. And see, when it comes to the tools and resources that we give out to our teammates and partners in our organizations on an everyday basis, we can actually say, hey, if this tool doesn't work good today, it may work good for another opportunity. What's your thoughts, Carla?
I got a lot of things going through my head here. We've got to work on getting along as a team and making it for the betterment of the organization, and appreciating people for what they bring into the situation, or whether it be solving a problem. I do agree that leaders are in the trenches with everybody else, as opposed to a manager that's just making sure a certain task gets done. The leaders are asking people, how can we best get this done, being opposed to being told how to get it done and make it work. Leaders are, how can we get this done in the most effective way possible?
Yeah,
Whereas managers are, we're going to do it this particular way.
leaders
And they don't take into account the different things that people bring into the situation, different abilities that people bring into the situation.
What did you just say, Sandy? About big picture thinkers?
Leaders are big picture thinkers. They don't sort of focus on teeny tiny things. They stand back and have the big picture, so they can see how the different people fit into it. It's like a jigsaw puzzle. Where do the pieces fit? So where do the people fit in terms of creating this big picture that we're going to, do whatever whatever it might be. And if everybody understands that and appreciates the leadership in terms of them helping all of us to do the best we can do, and supporting us and acknowledging our contributions, then you're going to have happy employees. And as we've said before, happy employees are more efficient, they're more creative, and they get sick less often. So less of a burden on the rest of the team, because when somebody's away, the rest of us have to pick up the slack.
Mm-hmm.
It's
I think it's about, if you're going to build a strong team, you have to build a strong relationship with the people on the team.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's just something as like when I used to take people up to checkout desks to check out, I would always say, hey, Heather's going to help you set up your next appointment, and I know you're in great hands with her. And so that not only showed that we're a team working together, but it also helped build confidence in the patient that the next person that they're with is going to take care of them.
Mm-hmm.
To where they had a good experience. And it wasn't something that I said just to say it. I knew that Heather would take good care of them. And if I knew that they were like a kind of difficult, shall I say, then, when she came back and had finished with them, I would say, how did it go? And, usually she would just do exactly what to do, what to say to take care of the situation. And I thank her for it, because that's being part of a team.
Yeah.
What's Ed saying today?
You're muted, Chris.
You're muted, Chris.
Unmute yourself.
You don't have to believe what I'm saying to be persuaded by me. You have to believe I believe what I'm saying. That's a massive difference. So many of you are spending all your time trying to get people to believe what you're saying. Your energy comes across as desperate, as a beggar, as less than, as secondary. You cannot overwhelm somebody with influence when you're constantly trying to get people to believe what you're saying. But if they believe you believe what you're saying, which is a completely different positioning, different intentionality, now you're somebody of persuasion. Everybody with me on that? Say yes. Yes. You don't have
Now, isn't that great, even from a place of relationships, that if you believe what you believe, then others believe what you believe, that they will believe you as well.
But you have to really believe what you're trying to get other people to believe, Chris. And, you have to have passion.
You have to walk the walk if you're going to talk the talk.
Yeah. And you have to have
You can't
passion.
be sitting eating cheeseburgers and telling people to eat salads.
True. Very good point, Carla.
Yeah.
I just think again, the bottom line is for any organization to be successful and for the team in the organization to be successful, there has to be good relationships between everyone. And it's not that hard to do. It's really not. It's a matter of accepting people for who they are and what they contribute. And if you can sort of do it in that way, then you can appreciate what people bring to the people are on this team because they have different skills. They've been chosen to bring those skills to the table. And, everybody doesn't have to have all the same skills, but it's a matter of if you have a team that's kind of varied in terms of what people can offer, then you're probably going to have much more success because those different people will bring their specific skills to the job, whatever the job might be. And that way we're going to get it done because we have people who have different abilities, and you put them together, then it's a win-win for everybody, but you have to appreciate that. So appreciate them for who they are and what they bring to the table. And if you can do that, then a lot of the animosity can go away.
Well, there may be a lot of people that want to even do more, but they don't need to know. They don't know how to ask for it. And say, for example, you're doing a particular procedure, cleaning something, whatever, and they go, "Oh, yeah, what are you doing?" And it's a good time to say, "Oh, I'm just processing instruments. You want to learn how to do that?" And they may go, "Oh, yeah, I'd love to do that. I could help out." And they could find something that they could do that they feel comfortable with. And if it's the right person that approaches them with the right attitude, they're going to be more open to wanting to learn.
For sure. And that's why, again, we've talked about this before. Cross training is really important because then if somebody's away or somebody's busy doing something else, then another person can pick up the slack because they've been shown what to do. So it's just a matter of what are we doing?
What's a good opportunity to help the team?
Exactly.
And I'm sorry, that's a feel-good feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Where I used to work, when after my girlfriend had died, she passed away of breast cancer, and she worked up front, and we worked together for several years. They had other people that would come in from other offices, and they were many times caught in traffic. Well, Nancy had showed me how to check people in and check people out. So that allowed me to be able to kind of turn the lights on, get things going, print the fee tickets, all that kind of stuff. And I knew how to do that because I could do that because I didn't have anything to do really until the patients got in, they were checked in, they got the right paperwork to fill out, and then they saw the physician. So, unless that front end was correct, the rest of the day was just shot if the front end didn't move smoothly.
Yep.
So it was nice to be able to help out with that.
Yep. And that's good teamwork, Carla.
Yeah.
That's really what it is. And again, it's not that hard.
It wasn't my job.
No.
But I learned how to do it.
Yeah. And it's a way of helping the team to continue to function and things keep moving and, so on and so forth. So we don't end up with we're stuck because the person who normally does this isn't here and nobody else knows what to do. And so we can't get any more patients in or out. Well, wrong.
Yeah.
Well, this what comes for me right now, and this is a question that I will ask everyone in our audience watching, or if they're going to watch later. It's like what John C. Maxwell says. Everything rises and falls on leadership. What about this, though? Does everything rise and fall on our relationships?
Yeah. Well, I agree it does, Chris. Because, again, if people aren't getting along and they can't help each other and they can't be nice to each other, it's very uncomfortable. It's really not a pleasant place to work. So, you may not love everyone that you work with. And I think that's perfectly fine, but you can appreciate what they bring to the table. And I think that's a different way of looking at people.
And also recognizing that, granted, you don't have to like everyone on the team, but at least if you can be respectful to them, honorable to them, meet them halfway on a lot of things that you may not even agree with, but you say, hey, I'll meet meet you halfway on this, or they can meet you halfway on that, whatever that might be. But you keep the conversation and the opportunity for engagement, and you let that be there.
Yeah.
And if you can extend that invitation out to others, genuine with that, you can still. It's just like what Brian has taught me so well in. When it comes to conversation and opportunity that we've been presented before us, we have three things that we can do, but we be respectful on all three at the very same time. Number one, we can go seek to understand them and really understand the thing that's being put before us in a way that the opportunity allows it to be, or the conversation allows it to be, whatever. But then number two, we can come back and say, hey, I will buy into what Carla is saying, or Sandy is saying, or mine, or Grant, or whatever. But I can buy into that and choose to do that at any given time. But then number three is we can literally not buy into anything at any given point. And this is where I think it truly is key to as well. If we don't buy into what others are telling us, even if we don't see eye to eye to them, we can still be respectful, like I said, on all three of them, for that opportunity to say, hey, I don't agree with you on this, but I can understand your point of view. I get it. Let's maybe, if this is the best idea that will win out the day, then let's do it. Even though I would like to have my idea, especially from a leadership dynamic, when you know leadership is not about you, it's about them. You can let them be creating that for them. And then when the win comes to them, I truly believe that win will come back to you too as well.
Well, I mean, you don't always have to have your idea accepted. You can let their idea play out. And if it's adopted by the leadership, then let it play out. And then if there's a group evaluation that is working, but we need to fine tune it, and maybe your idea will win. Maybe there's a segment of your idea that you could add in there. It could be a combination of different ideas that actually solves a particular problem.
The male's in the kitchen. The male's
and then it's a win for everybody. In the end, it's not about you, it's about the organization that you're representing.
Right.
Yeah.
And how it functions. Because I'm sorry, your job is not yours. Your job belongs to your employer, unless you're working for yourself.
Right.
Fair enough.
And, you know, that's what I think a lot of people forget, is that your job isn't yours. You're asked to do a job by an organization, and as easily as you could be employed, you can also be let go. So, you know, they can let you go just because, but they can also let you go because of your attitudes and the fact that you're not building positive relationships with people that you work with. You're not getting along. You're not a team player, so to speak.
Yeah.
I don't really like that term, because I just think that everybody should come in and work well together.
Yeah, but a lot of people don't know how, Carla.
I know they don't. And I've worked with people.
So ladies, what would be our call to action today?
Well, I think, Chris, that people need to pay more attention to how they get along with people and how they communicate with people, and try to be appreciative of what they bring to the table, even if you don't love them. You don't have to have dinner with them every night or any of those kinds of things, but you do have to work with them at your job. And so appreciate what they bring to the table. And if you can be respectful and appreciative of what they bring, then the relationship will probably be fine. It's not that hard, but people have to realize that that's what they have to do. So even if somebody's kind of annoying, if you appreciate the fact that they have some terrific skills that are very beneficial to the job, then appreciate them for that.
Yeah, you have to be intentional and look on the positive things that people can bring into the relationship. We're not perfect. And you may have some negative things in your own personality and how you present yourself that annoy people. You can be as annoying as they are to you. But I think that we all have to work on our own personal development and our emotional intelligence to be able to treat people with kindness and respect, even though you don't see eye to eye with them, and try to work on that relationship. to get along in the workplace. And I think treating with people with kindness and respect go a long way.
Yep, absolutely.
Because you would want that in return.
And this is Graham's call to action. He says to be more tolerant of other people and to recognize what they have to put up when they are working with me. You're absolutely spot on, Graham. You're absolutely right. See, this is my call to action, and it's very simply put. Meet people where they recognize what they bring to the table, understand that you may not have to understand everything with them, but at least you can respect, honor them, and at least meet them halfway on a lot of things. Because if you're willing to work with them, more often than not, that they will be willing to work with you. And also, attitude is great. If you have a great attitude and you're positive with it, yeah, we're going to have day-to-days that comes in. We're going to end up saying, hey, today I'm not feeling all that great. So, Carla, just want to let you know ahead in advance. If I snap at you, I'm sorry. Since I got a lot on my plate. At least you're upfront with people.
Yeah.
But if you, like I said, you keep that environment solid. It's like law number 14, the law of solid ground. That's from the John C. Maxwell book, The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. If you create that solid ground with people, that they trust you and they honor you, and you have that solid ground with them, not only would they go to you for things, but they also are going to have you go to them for things. In that, it creates that environment that everyone's working together. Again, they don't have to go to take you to the movies with you, or you go to dinner with them or whatever. But at least you keep it cordial, professional, and truly relational to such an extent that they respect you. And if you create that environment, again, I will go back to this yet again. I believe it's so powerful. Create better environments, create better results. And that goes a long way from the relationship angle.
Mm-hmm. True.
Chris, you know that John C. Maxwell is rewriting the 21 Laws of Leadership.
Yeah, you told me he's revising them.
Revising it. And I have to know, do you have them all memorized in order?
I know law number 14, the law of solid ground, the law of the big Mo, forget what number that is. But there's a lot of laws in my head that I still remember.
Okay. I thought you had them memorized, kind of like the 10 Commandments.
Well, I'm trying to remember. I mean, there's so much I can pack in my brain. You know how that goes. I get an overload of it. I shut down. And I can't know everything. I mean, it's the way the mind works. You pick up a little bit here and there. So that's the way it works.
Yeah.
To me, the law of solid ground is just a pivotal one for me, because if you don't have that solid ground, then what can you stand on?
True. You fall down.
All right. Again, ladies, thank you so much for this great and engaging conversation with Graham and Brian. Yes, Graham, we will love you on here. Come on. We'd like to see you. Again, thank you for your insights again. And, of course, the great Brianisms of the day. Love Brian. He also will pull out a thing out of the hat and say, this will happen to the Ryder Cup. You got to know that trivia, you know. So we greatly appreciate you guys so much. And we'll see you tomorrow for Conversations for Humanity. And we'll see you bright and early at 2:45 for the meet and greet. You guys have a great day.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.